very.
Now, usually I don't do my podcast in the middle of the day, but there's always going to be exceptions to a rule when you're dealing with time zones and you want to get a certain artist on here, because here it's around lunchtime on the Jersey Shore. Over there in Cornwall, is that the home, Crispian, where you live in these days?
It is the home of the pasty. 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Exactly. So you're tuning up for maybe dinner at some point in the next hour or so. The gentleman you are seeing here, fronting the band Kula, who have done 7 albums, have had a great run of songs that were in the UK top 15 for about a 4-year period, have a new song out. He's also been a filmmaker. Yeah, he's done some work with a guy you may recognize named Simon Pegg, which does not suck. And I'm happy to have Crispian Mills here. Thank you for taking the time and coming on, my friend.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah, nice to virtually meet you as well. We're coming up on a big anniversary for you with the band, because this is sort of the prelim of the celebration of your debut album, K, which came out almost 30 years ago.
I know it's crazy. I can't get my head around it. It's all abstract. Yes, the heady days of late 90s Britpop, of which we were a contributing factor. Must apologize for that. It was 30 years ago. 30 years. It was, and it was another world. And as you grow older, you're kind of always looking around with you just to check, how has the world changed, and is it and there is a point where you suddenly look back and you realize that it's unrecognizable.
I would agree with that. And I mean, and it's interesting when you look at perspective, because when you were forming the band, you were late teens, early 20s, forming this band, and probably not knowing at some point there's like, oh, hey, we're going to get an album out. We're going to really make this thing happen. Then you fast forward and see all the things that have happened and changed personally, professionally around you. I mean, do you sit back and maybe look back and say, could we have done the album that we did 30 years ago today?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. There's something to be said for when you press record. Mm-hmm. You're not just getting the music. You're getting a snapshot of people and where they're at in their life, and the energy that they put into that music is it's a force that you feel. So when people re-record their stuff, to get around the man, who owns, I know obviously Taylor Swift is a famous example. It's not such a big deal for her, I guess, if it's not a huge amount of time between. But for somebody like Alice Cooper, who went back to re-record his whole catalog and re-sang School's Out, and every note is exactly the same. They played it, exactly the same, had the same producer and the same parts. It's still not going to be the same effect when you listen to it, because it's a moment in time, and it's some magic that you capture in a room. So
it's very well said. And when you look back on the magic that you were capturing, and it's interesting because you're kind of apologizing for that Britpop movement. Don't you ever apologize for that, first off. But second of all, when you look at where Kula was, even in comparison to some of the bands, the Stone Roses and such, from that era, you definitely carved out your own niche. And I don't know if that was intentional. It was just sort of, you talk about magic, the magic that you were creating in the studio, and what came out of it. And you look at, Tatfa being the breakout song that it was, and came into the United States, goes top 10 at alternative radio, and you've established an identity here in the States as well as over there. But for me, who was doing radio at that point in the alternative format, that song was so different, I thought, and it stood out so much from everything else that was coming out. Did you guys feel that you had something there that was like, you know what, this is different? Even though it may not have been our intention, but it was like, we really have created something very different.
I think you become excited about new music when
Yeah.
you create it, and that one, well, a lot of songs have stories behind them, and the story behind Tapper was that this ancient aphorism, this sort of condensed wisdom, Ajinta Veda Veda Tapper, that was explained to me by somebody as sort of reconciling all these opposite points of view in terms of why are we here, what is God, what is reality, is it, all of these opposing views, even like atheism and people, as opposed to monotheism or paganism, all these added. Like, wow, that's really beautiful. And I met somebody else like a week later, and they said, "Oh, Ajinta Beta Beta Tattva." It's I'd never heard it before. All of a sudden, I had 2 or 3 people that all said it to me in the course of a week. So
Coincidence is
I took
interesting.
it as a sign,
Yeah,
and,
of course.
and I started singing it one day in the rehearsal, and a lot of musicians, they do remember the moment that a piece of music came to them that was that had a big impact on their life. And I do remember the time we played Tapper, the first time I started messing around with that guitar riff and the chant, and I remember where I was in the room and what everyone was doing at that moment. I have kind of a snapshot, which is and I'm very happy to be able to access that memory. I haven't deleted the file by accident.
Yeah. Nor should you, my friend. But it's understandable that if you're living life in the present, sometimes you don't think about it. But then all of a sudden, something in the back of your mind goes, I do remember all this. This all starts coming back to you. And it's not a bad
Yes,
thing to kind of look back and, kind of embrace it. I still say you always, as an artist, you're always trying to move forward and always trying to do the
yeah,
new, which we're going to get into the new song. But it's also nice to kind of look back because it is sort of a milestone within the band to kind of go, hey, we've been doing this for 30 damn years. Oh my God. Would we have thought we'd be here 30 years later? Who knows?
yeah. I mean, sometimes there's a smell. The olfactory senses. You smell something, it takes you back to a moment in time. Like freshly cut grass or I won't go into unsavory odors. But yeah, the music, can work like that, can't it? Can work like is a very deep, penetrating sense, and so the music, I can take you back.
Do venues sometimes do that for you when you go back on the road and you go to a venue you've been to maybe years before and suddenly something just clicks in there where you go, oh, I remember what happened when we were here last time or one of the times before there was like a memory that you kind of just forgot about and then all of a sudden you're at the venue and boom, it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Yes, it's the smell of beer and piss. Always take you back.
It's a standard smell at a lot of rock clubs. Come on now.
Yeah. But on this last tour, we were just touring with a band from the 90s, originally called Ocean Color Scene.
I remember the song Sway by them. Yes, I remember them well.
Yeah, we just did some dates with them, and it was a lot of fun. And we have a reputation for burning a lot of incense, and we were actually selling it. We were selling incense, and they the whole band just like got addicted. They were buying it, like they were buying like mega boxes of this stuff. And we turn up to the venue a little bit after they had, and it was already smelling like a Moroccan brothel. And so we definitely leaving our mark.
As you
Yeah.
should, sir.
Yeah.
As you should. And it's good for you, and it's good for obviously the audience will
Yeah.
not forget that. And that's another thing. You're making it an unforgettable moment for those who came to the show.
Yeah, and there's a certain type of band that's been deeply affected by for instance, the Indian philosophy, Indian ideas, Indian culture, Indian cooking, I know there's a hardcore band called Shelter, and I saw them in the 90s, and even though they're all into hardcore and straight edge,
Right.
the Camden underworld absolutely stank like a temple. It was great.
The things that stand out. To go from the 30 years past to where we are today, I'm happy to say that Crispin and the guys have got a new song and called Charge of the Light Brigade. So this is not on any album yet. So does that mean we're going to see a new album by you guys sometime in the near to distant future?
Yeah, you're gonna get a new album in the fall.
Very cool. Very cool. And I'm going to refer back to the album before a little later on for a reason, but I'm happy to say that Crispin's given us the blessing to play the video, so this way gives everybody an idea. Now, keep in mind, Crispin's also a filmmaker, so when you're watching the video, there's actually a little thing going on where it almost feels like, okay, the attack of the zombies are happening within the video. So enjoy the visuals as you're also enjoying the music. From Kula Shaker, this is Charge of the Light Brigade. We have that ready? Yes, let's do it right now here on the A Game. Charge of the Light Brigade, the new song from Kula Shaker, and I'm like, God, Crispin's kind of like smiling at it. And it looked like it was a lot of fun to do that video. I mean, videos have become a little passe in a sense, but with YouTube, it's kind of important. It's still a promotional tool to get the music out there. As a filmmaker, do you find it a fun process? Do you find it kind of that, oh God, we got to do this just to try to promote? I mean, what comes to mind when you're thinking videos?
Well, it's very easy nowadays as a musician putting out music. It's very easy to just kind of just fall into despair because it seems like you create all this content, and it just kind of disappears into into the ether, into the internet, but that it's harder to get a sense of what people's experiences are, and so you have to you have to just be directly in touch with the fans and read the comments and track it like that, and then it's really rewarding. But it was a lot of fun to go and shoot that. We that's a graveyard opposite where we rehearse. So cool. we rehearse in the room, and we were mucking around in there, and that graveyard is in a movie called The Omen.
Oh yeah, I know the Omen. Oh my God,
the original Dick Donner, who of the Goonies and Superman fame. Dick Donner himself. Yeah. That was like the movie that the one that really put him on the map. And that churchyard is where the old priest, the old Irish priest, he gets lanced. So we were in there, and it's got a lot of atmosphere.
It's wild. It looked like it was fun. That's why I had to ask if you thought it was a tedious process, because you're also somebody who's by the way, Crispian's done a couple of films. For those in the United States who are watching this, a couple of the films that he's done. In the UK, probably more well known, but he's worked with a guy named Simon Pegg, who still in one of my all-time favorite films, Shaun of the Dead. Oh, hail Shaun of the Dead. Great freaking film. Love it to death. But you got to work with him at first in 2012. A fantastic Fear of Everything. Where's that photo? Give me that photo number 5, if you would. Great shot of Simon from the movie. Which it's an interesting plot line. Obviously, he has a fear of laundromats, for those who have never seen the film. But when you think about it, phobias and fears are not rational. So if you're going to play to the irrational, why not play to the irrational of the irrational, so to speak? And what made you create a film like? Obviously, I got to ask, what do you have fears or phobias that kind of went, you know what, maybe I can put this pen to paper and create this?
Yeah, it was based on a short story by Bruce Robinson, who wrote a very, very important comedy that changed a lot of people's lives, called With Mel and I. And so it was just a short story about a guy he needs to go and wash some pants, and he can't face the outside world, basically. And I developed the script and took it to Simon, and you get a great part and a great actor. You don't have to do much. You just get out of the way and make sure that the camera's in the right place and you can see what's going on. But I've worked with him a couple of times. He's fantastic. Lots of fun. And the second movie we did together, he was a supporting role in that film, and it was really the kids that were the stars, because it was set in an English boarding school. And he would just, we need this little cameo here. I'll just call Margot Robbie and just see what she's up to. And she
just call Margot Robbie for right.
Hey, send her my best.
And I was going to bring that up. Slaughterhouse Rules, you get this incredible cast. And like you said, I'm just going to call it Margot Robbie. No, right, these days, she did Barbie, made about $1 billion. That's all. Sure, just call Margot Robbie. Like, it was not. I mean, obviously, this is pre-Barbie, but not only her. You get, hello, Mr. Frost Nixon, Michael Sheen. I mean, you get him on top of it. I'm like, how do you approach a guy who's been so well known in drama, between the Queen, and there's a great photo of the two of you on the shoot. I mean, did it take convincing, or did he just see the script and see I would like to be a part of this? Because I'm just almost surprised and flabbergasted, but also wonderfully just knowing that here are some really heavy hitting actors coming together. And
it was great. Yeah. Well, it was I think they like the story. It was about a very privileged English public school that ends up having a kind of a fracking company come in, and the frackers release drill too far, too deep, too hard, soon, and release all these monsters come and eat everybody, eat all the posh kids and eat all the masters. I think then everybody sort of connected with it. And I had actually spent a couple of years in a posh school, and had not had a happy time there. And I got to go back to that school,
Oh wow.
essentially trash it. So I got a bit of therapy in as well.
Hey, look, man, you didn't have to pay a therapist for it. You made money off it. There you go.
Yeah,
It's even better.
for
And
sure.
I was going to bring up about private school because your upbringing. I mean, I'll start with this. Your mom is a living legend in the world of Disney. When was it that, first off, when was the moment did you realize your mom was famous? Because obviously, living the life that you live, it's like that's your normal. Everybody's got their own normal. But there comes a point where you just know at a certain age, like, oh, wait a minute, my mom is actually well known by a lot of people. When was that moment?
Yeah, everyone's parents are, you sort of more sort of, sort of they're like spiritual people in your life,
Right.
obviously, and they're not normal people, your parents anyway. But when I think I realized that something was strange because I kept meeting men who would say, "Oh, I was in love with your mother when I was a kid." And for a while, I thought she just, had a lot of boyfriends or something. But,
Okay, she's got stories.
like the schoolmaster or, somebody, oh, look, there you go.
By the way, this was posted by Crispian on
Yeah,
Mother's Day, and I got
that,
that off your Instagram. That's a beautiful photo, by the way. That really
well,
is.
that's me doing my Chucky impersonation.
I think you
The,
nailed it.
I've got the knife hidden I'm just about
On the
to.
other hand, which is underneath, you're right. Ready to pull it out.
Yeah.
Great. Son kills Haley Mills, Phil in mid 11. Oh, God. Did I just say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. It could go either way, that picture.
Yeah. But but it's interesting because obviously to a certain sect of people, and I remember growing up being a kid in the 70s, and Sunday nights were about The Wonderful World of Disney, which was on NBC. And a lot of times, at least once or twice a year, Parent Trap is going to be run on TV. So I saw that movie so many times. And then
Yeah.
another film that would always get rerun was That Darn Cat. So that's
Yeah.
how I got to know your mom, through those films.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even, and it became a part of my culture in the 70s, even though the film was done in the 60s. So the lasting impact of
Yeah, and then there was another show that she did called Saved by the Bell.
I,
Um,
I,
and so
if I can touch on that for a second, because I remember the show was under a different title, and your mom was sort of the title person when they originally did it for the Disney Channel. But then NBC here in the States buys it, turns it into Saved by the Bell. But if you were a fan of that show, the first season, here she is, Miss Bliss. She is the teacher in the classroom. Good Morning, Miss Bliss was the actual first title before it became Saved by the Bliss. So here's a second generation who's gotten to know your mom in a different way.
Yeah, no, I know it's very enduring, and I worked with her. She did her memoir a couple of years ago, a memoir specifically about her child acting career, which went up to her early 20s. And it's a great story, but there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and she was a huge star in America, and much bigger star in America than in Britain.
Oh, I didn't
And
know that. Oh, wow.
yeah, and I think because those movies, they had such a big effect on that generation. But now they are being played. Kids and especially girls still see movies like Pollyanna, and so it's lovely. And I don't, I grew up with them too, so
When you read your mom's memoirs, did you feel like you got closer to her on a level where you sit there and go, "Wow, Mom, I wish I had known some of this stuff, way beforehand"?
Yeah, I mean, she had an incredible career, but there's a lot of insight in terms of like the modern people's modern take on Hollywood.
Right.
That it's quite revealing to see how it was experienced by her as a kid. She was very very protected and by her mom,
Right.
and so all the kind of horror stories about Hollywood that you hear
Yeah.
are she moved through that and was quite protected. But you could see how it would go really wrong, and kids could be exploited if they didn't have that.
Right.
And just people like actors like Maureen O'Hara, the sort of the legendary John Ford actress. She was also had her mum with her, even in her 20s. She still had her mum there, and she was Irish and taking no nonsense. And
Mhm.
people did, she was ready to go back to Ireland because um, she wouldn't lie down on the casting couch and
Exactly.
give way to exploitation. But she ended up with the right director, and but it was very. I'm personally a huge fan of movies, and I love all of those stories about the old directors, and especially the 60s. It was a really exciting time. So I loved reading it, and she got to work with some incredible people.
Absolutely, she did, and she made like we both said, made a lasting impression. So let me take it from the mom's perspective on you when you decide, hey, listen, mom, I'm going to go into the business as a musician, and I would hope because she had her mom always there that she was going to be supportive, but maybe not be overbearing, if that makes sense.
Well, my mum was very conscious of all the luck that she had and the being in the right place at the right time, and a lot of musicians that I've spoken to, successful musicians, I'd say the most of them will all say the same thing as well. That ultimately you just got to get lucky.
Yeah.
You need the right mix of people, and you need to meet them at the right time, and you need the right piece of music at the right time. And there's that kind of symmetry. You can't plan it, but you got to be ready for when the opportunity comes. And
Actually, to defend your point, you made a great quote earlier this month. You did this in Guardian. I want to read this, and it's referring to one of the songs going back to your first album. It was the perfect, miraculous convergence of sublime and ridiculous, and that is what pop music should be. It's a great quote because it just defends what you just said. A little bit of luck, a little bit of magic, and then boom, here you go. You got your moment.
Sure, and pop music has always been able to contain all types of elements, of all types of music, all
Right.
types of genres, and ideas as well. You can smuggle in all kinds of crazy ideas in pop music. It's a great, that just the fact that it can be 2.5-3 minutes long, and you can say, all you need is love, or war pigs.
There's, and again, it's interesting. Two very interesting ends of the spectrum you just did between war pigs and all you need is love. Great combination there. All right, Christian is freezed up, and we will talk real quick about. He's coming back, so I will stall for time as he comes back. New album will be out in the fall. We have Crispian Mills here on the A game. While he takes the phone call, I will set up our next segment, which is random
Sorry about
shots.
that. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll have
I'm
to
setting
just
this
kill
up.
it.
You can take a minute. This is me stalking his social medias.
Apologies.
I got about 4 or 5 questions that I could ask of him that have something to do with stuff that I learned about him through being basically a stalker on his Instagram account. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with this because I love the album title you did in 2022. First Congregational Church of Free Love and Free Hugs, which I'd like to become a member of, by the way. When it comes to album titles that you've done, that you've seen from other bands, does one stand out? Because that's a great album title. I wouldn't even know what the album was about. I'd want to listen to the album just based on the title.
Yes, it's the first congregational church of
First
eternal love and
Congregational Church. Sorry.
free hug. Yes, no, we wanted to come up with something that nobody could remember, apart from the fact that they couldn't remember it.
You succeeded.
Yes, That's it. No one could remember it. So we had to perfect it to the point where no one could get it right. And I think we
And I
did.
proved it. There you go. And that's the thing. I pay attention to album titles. I think it says a lot about the artist when they come up with something. I mean, do you find that with other artists when you look at some of the album titles and you go, okay, you just called it album 5. That's really creative.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about I think K. We weren't sure about calling it K at the beginning, but it ended up coming forward and as a piece of artwork. Actually,
Yes.
that the art kind of sold it to us. Because we used to be called the K's when we were kids, when we
But
were
that
like
makes sense then. It has a deep
17,
meaning to
18.
it. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it had meaning for us. So, and everything is magical. Everything has a magical aspect to it. And it's not like it's everything is connected to the divine. So it doesn't matter whether it's a letter or a number or a car number plate. There's always the presence of God somewhere.
I know. I believe that. I believe that 1000% that there is a presence somewhere. I agree with you on that. Random shots with Crispin Mills. Okay. I got to bring up a Simon Pegg thing, and hopefully you'll have some fun with this with me. In the classic film Shaun of the Dead, there is this scene where all of a sudden they find out to get rid of the zombies, you either have to kill the brain or cut off the head. And all of a sudden they start going through the record collection and start throwing records at the head that included throwing the Batman soundtrack, Dire Straits, and Sade. Now, based on your record collection, past and present, you're in that same position. What's the album you're throwing at the zombies to cut off their head?
Oh my God. I think I've chucked out all my really bad records. I haven't chucked them at zombies. I don't want to say anything horrible. I don't want to say.
Fair enough.
I've got duplicate. I've got 2 records of a Lawrence of Arabia soundtrack from.
So you can afford to get rid of one. There you go.
One, yeah. I can. Maurice Jarre. Goodbye.
Thanks for playing along on that one. I appreciate it.
No, that was a great scene.
It was. That's the scene that always stands out in my mind when I watch that movie. Go to photo number 1 for this next one. This is a beautiful picture of this. Now, this is, obviously where your home is as the sun is coming up. I mean,
oh, you have been stalking my Instagram account.
I don't lie when I say that, Crispin. I've been stalking.
And that's a good image. It's Instagram. How do you get an image that clear?
I take the photo, I copy it into mine, and then I'm basically tweaking the photo to get it clearer. Right, so I've been able to kind of recompose it a little bit. And
very impressive.
Thank you. It sets up my next question. Obviously, being where you are in Cornwall, the nearest football team to you would be Plymouth Argyle in the Champions League. But yet, you had a song that came out a couple of years ago called Waves, which mentions Manchester. So when it comes to football, who's your team? Or is there a team?
Well, no, the nearest football team, soccer team is the Magpies, is Penzance Magpies. And then there's the Penzance Pirates. Obviously, they're the rugby team. I used to, like, in the late 70s, when I first became aware of soccer, I was supporting Arsenal, which I thought was funny that they had a team named after a part of your body. And then actually, when I met my wife, my to-be wife, I met her family. That her dad was in football, so I ended up really supporting whoever he was working with. He began as a player in the first division, Sheffield Wednesday, in the late 60s, early 70s, and then he played with a whole load of Crystal Palace, and then he ended up as a manager for Fulham and Southampton. And so I was always supporting whoever he was working with at the time, because I wanted him to be doing well.
Sure.
So it wasn't just irrational jingoism.
No. And again, some people may have known that. I had no idea. So that really is a big part of your life in a sense, because being with your wife and knowing that, okay, here's her father, and he's in the sport. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, well, he was in it before the really big money came in. So he always says, "Oh, I just missed the gold rush," because it was a lot of those teams, they did have more of a sort of a local character to them.
yes,
And in the summer, the soccer players would work on a building site. They'd get other work, and then the football season would start, and they go back again. And it was a completely different culture. And then towards when satellite TV came in,
right.
that's when the big money came into football. And he caught some of it. He was managing a first division team, Southampton at that time. But
I'm sure he's got to be amazed by. I mean, here in the States now, NBC
yeah,
has literally got wall to wall. I mean, you could literally turn on the TV,
yeah,
9 o'clock in the morning, even during the week. One of the sister networks will be playing a Premier League game. So
yeah,
all of a sudden, I'd say the last 5 years, suddenly soccer is finally starting to catch up with everybody else here in the United States. Major
right.
League Soccer is doing a great job, but now suddenly you can watch the Premier League in about 3 or 4, where before it was, like you said, you'd have to go
Yeah.
on satellite. Now you can get it on basic cable, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's like mainlining a drug. It's just so
Yeah.
much. There's so much sport you can do now. It's like
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, absolutely. And look
crazy.
at how many options that you have as far as, when it comes to soccer, football, whatever the case you want to do. It's like going, okay, now we have 2 leagues in America. You've got the pyramid of 4 leagues here in the UK. I mean, it's fine. At
Yeah,
least here in the States, we can finally say it's catching up.
yeah, and the money thing is it's a sort of psychedelic reality. You can't really get your head around it. That a guy who kicks a football is going to get paid £150,000 a week to sit on the bench. You're not even going to get played. It's just
Exactly.
mind boggles.
Yeah,
But
what do you do for a living? I sit on a bench and get splinters and make really good money. I'm like, God, I hate you. I got another quote that you did. It was, and again, proving the point that I've stalked your social media.
right.
I aim to keep the psychedelic jam going for as long as Jerry did, so I've got a long way to go yet. What is the influence of the Grateful Dead when it comes to you and music?
Well, I got cousins in California, and so I was turned on to the Dead by my cousin Sean, who must have seen them, thousands and thousands of times. Some of the gigs he can even remember.
That's a statement.
And he's seen Fish a lot now, and he's kind of a lot of those tribe are moved towards
Right.
Fish but my introduction was through him. And we what the main thing that struck me about the band was that they were more than the band. They were more than the
Yes.
music. They
Yes.
represented a kind of a lifestyle. And I loved that. And in a way, we've always aspired to somehow follow in that tradition, where a band is just more than the music. Even they're more than the individual, certainly, and you embody something else. And so all the things that we're really into, we've always put into our music. And
When you look back into like around 1996, when you guys were starting to break, there was a tour that was going on around the United States called the Horde Tour, which had a lot of those neo dead bands that were touring together. Not that it was a missed opportunity, but looking back on it, I could have seen you guys on a tour like that in that package. Could you have seen you guys doing that?
yeah, I think we did do some dates on Horde,
You
actually.
did? How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I think we did it we were on with Beck and
Yes.
Neil Young and Ben Folds Five.
Ben would love Ben.
Yeah, I remember. We did it for a short stretch, 2 or 3 weeks. It was great.
Yeah, I just like I said, the more that would have been like it's almost like a perfect marriage for you and the band to be out on that tour. I'm glad you got that experience. It should have been longer, but I'm glad you got the experience. Let me do one more to wrap it up, and it's a photo from give me number 3. Now, I'm somebody who's not into the vegan culture, but recently, here by me in a town called Asbury Park, props to Marissa Sweeney for doing the New Jersey Vegan Fest.
Right.
And to me, that is very appetizing. I would eat that, but I'm also going, all right, what exactly is in it? And as somebody who's lost a lot of weight recently, I've cut back on meat. What are in your mind, what's the advantages of vegan?
I love how we're just talking over this pasty.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that pasty has a significance I would not have anticipated. No, I'm not really a vegan. I'm a vegetarian.
Okay.
And I've kind of, the vegan thing is much more. I understand, to do with just how I feel about animals and how they get treated
Right, right.
by the industry. The pasty is unique to Cornwall, and it's full of it can be with meat, or it can be with cheese, or it can be with vegetables, and this is very savory pasty. And the far out thing is that we brought a California artist called Lance Gordon, the Mad Alchemist,
Mm-hmm.
who does the original oil liquid light shows live. We brought him over, and he came and did the tour with us recently in the UK. And his assistant, this 21-year-old guy, comes from Grass Valley
Mm-hmm.
up in California. I didn't know there was a Grass Valley, but obviously it makes sense.
Right.
The liquid light guy comes from Grass Valley, and he said, "Oh, it was a gold rush town,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and we have pasties there because they brought the Cornish tin miners over to show, to exploit their expertise in mining for the gold rush, and they brought with them the skills of pasty making. So there's these pasty shops in Grass Valley. So when he came back to Cornwall with us on this tour, he wanted to sample. He wanted to come back to the motherland of pasty,
Nice.
and so it has a connection. And I that the one that you've shown that picture, that was from on my birthday. That was my
Yes.
birthday pasty.
Nice way to celebrate. As we're getting ready to wrap up, I'll throw one more photo at you only because I am a huge fan of your guitar and the artwork that is done on this. So, h- how long did you know how long it took for the person to create this, and whose idea was to? I mean, it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful piece of art.
Well, the artwork for our second record, Astronauts, Peasants, Pigs, and Astronauts, another one that you shouldn't attempt to say.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister, by the
That
way.
was a couple of things. Peasants, Pigs, and Astronauts is
You're probably saying that 5 times fast. Good luck.
yes, exactly. And he the guy who did all our artwork for that and our single called Sound of Drums around that time, called Dan the Artist Man. He did it all by hand, and he did he did two guitars for me that Fender had given me, and I don't know how long he took. I think
Mhm.
he took 3 or 4 weeks on it,
Right.
but it's a one-off, and I treat that guitar like shit, and I feel really bad because it's I throw it around, and it's it's out there on the front line, bayonets fixed. It's not. It was not originally built for the studio. It was built for gigging, hard gigging,
Sure.
and it's been gig. I really should retire it, but it is the best sounding of all those guitars. Very loud.
Hey, look, if it works for you, you got to keep using it. I understand that completely. But that is something at least we get to see when Kula goes out on tour again. Now I know you're doing dates in your home country. What about the United States? When are you coming back?
We're coming back soon. I think we'll be back in the US. I'd say like in the fall.
Look
For
forward
sure.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, watch this space. I think it's going to get announced.
Oh, we'll
Soon. I
definitely.
mean, I've seen some dates. I'm waiting for them to be confirmed, and it'll be announced soon.
And I'll make sure to pass that on too. And I know who to hit up for tickets because I want to thank Ray Roldan, who's been doing some publicity for you guys here in the United States for
So where are you? Where are you? Where is this
New
coming
Jersey, Jersey Shore. So I'm less than an hour from New York City. But I
Right.
would say, let's see, the Stone Pony in Asbury Park might be a place you might want to consider playing.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we want to come with all of our psychedelic whirlpool.
Yeah, I'd see the Pony would be the place. I think that would be a perfect fit for you guys. Actually, a band that you know pretty well, the Dandy Warhols just recently played at the Pony. So fits the mold of, like I said, if you've never played the Pony, you got to play it because it is sort of the legendary venue, 50 years going strong here on the Jersey Shore, worth the time and effort.
Sure.
And I promise you it'll smell like beer and piss. So don't worry about it. You'll feel really good. It'll work.
I
And
won't
that's
be
nice
disappointed.
against the Pony if they're watching.
Yeah. Cool.
Again, Kula Shaker will have a new album out in the fall. We look forward to passing on the dates when we get them. Charge of the Light Brigade. The song is right now on YouTube. You could also go download it and put it in your library. My friend, thank you so much for the time. Really great conversation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I hope to see you in the States.
Absolutely in person. We'll make that happen for sure. Hey, listen, I'll be back next week with my guest, Tracy Bonham. Until then, take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks, man. Take
Cheers.
care. Bye. Bye.